morning. I just want to say a few words about the poetry of this song. This poetry was written by James Agee, and the piece takes a perspective of an older man walking through nature, reflecting on the beauty and wonder of the night. In the beauty and wonder, he's able to look back on his life and find healing. We hope you enjoy Sure on the Shining Night.
Sure on this shining night of star-made shadows round, kindness must watch for me this side the ground.
Oh, goodness, thank you so much. That was so beautiful. Good morning. Welcome, everyone, to the Boulder Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. I'm Reverend Lydia Ferrante Roseberry, and I'm joined today by our Service Associate Jim Mariner, Tad Koryeth, Tracy Bush, Mark Hughes, and Daniel Fields, who was our vocalist, our soloist this morning. They're all providing music today, and it will be a wide variety of music, so I'm kind of excited to see the arc of today's music. And we have an excellent tech team, as usual. Mary Stackpole, Deborah Mensch, and Kathy Partridge is on Zoom. Hello, Zoomies. And of course, all of you here, both in person and on Zoom, you are part of this beloved community. You are all welcome here. In all the beauty of languages, cultures, skin tones, shapes and sizes, challenges and gifts that come together in your uniqueness, you are welcome here. In all the ways you experience and express gender, you are welcome here. In the beauty that is who you love and how you love, you are welcome here. In all the ways you make your living, in all the places you are from, you are welcome here. With all of the traditions that inform your spiritual life, you are welcome here. no matter how long you are away, nor how soon until you return. You are welcome here. And whether you come today with laughter in your heart or with needed tears, you are welcome here. You're invited to join us with an open mind, a loving heart, and willing hands. We welcome everyone here today. We acknowledge that the land surrounding us is the stolen territory of the Arapaho people, and that many Native people roamed freely on this land for millennia before the arrival of white settlers. And we commit ourselves to being a center for spiritual exploration and justice making, and to anti-Semitism and anti-oppression work, both within and beyond the walls of this congregation. So if you're new here, we are so glad you found us and hope that whether you're here in person or on Zoom, you can experience the love and the warmth and the commitment to justice of this congregation. Each Sunday's different, so please do come back a few times to really get to know us. We have many opportunities during the week also for gathering together in community for meaning making and joy and connection. Those on Zoom, there's links going into the chat right now that can help you get connected. And if you're new here, you can go to the welcome table following the service or check the QR code in the back of the hymnals. Everyone on Zoom is welcome to stay for virtual coffee hour after the service. And as I'm seeing, high compliance, we are in high of Boulder County, which means high compliance on masking for COVID. So with the exception of our fellowship hall, we require masks in the building at all times while we remain on this high status so that we can reduce the infection rate and not overtax our hospitals. If you're in fellowship hall for coffee hour, you may remove your mask while eating, or better yet, put your coat on and grab a bite in your coffee and go outside and chat with your friends out there. Anybody who has their mask off in this service, service leaders, has tested negative for COVID this morning. And for any visitors on Zoom, if you'd like to introduce yourself in the chat, please do so. We do love to know who is among us. And for those of you in the sanctuary, just turn a moment to someone near you and give them a greeting. And if you are a newcomer, let them know so that we can get to know you better as well. This being the Christian season of Advent, we'll be lighting our Advent wreath each week at our Sunday services as a reminder of the religious underpinnings of this season that sometimes get lost beneath the tinsel. The candle for the third Sunday is pink and represents joy. Within the Christian community, the third candle is called the shepherd's candle. And the pink is because rose is a liturgical color for joy. And it's meant to remind us of the joy that the world experienced with the birth of Jesus, as well as the joy that the faithful, this is according in the Christian calendar, but have reached the midpoint of Advent. We're halfway there. So I see it as a little pick-me-up reminder to seek and create joy even in the midst of the mundane or of the busyness and the consumerism of these holidays and of the challenges of the world that we live in. We'll light our chalices now. So Jim will be lighting the chalice from the here in the sanctuary, and those of you on Zoom, if you have a chalice at home, feel free to light it and write in the chat where your chalice is from. And everyone is invited to say the words together. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action. And now I'll sing our bowl again, inviting the sound of the bowl to draw you deeper into the present moment and into the company of this gathered community.
Back in the early 90s, I made a practice of doing a 5-day solo backpacking trip every year. And on one occasion, I hiked the Conundrum Trail, some 9 miles above Aspen, to a hot spring situated above timberline. If you've ever been there, you know that mountain peaks surround the springs to create the horizon, so that the only light after dark, barring the presence of the moon, is starlight. And I might say that it's so bright that we could see deer 20 feet away with just the starlight. On my first night at the springs, I found myself in the company of perhaps 8 other hikers who were enjoying a good soak. So much for a solo trip. Anyway, the pool had been formed, was large enough to accommodate well over a dozen soakers, and I more or less isolated myself at one end of the pool. From their conversation, I gathered that they were all kind of in a group and were friends of each other. As you can imagine, in such a surrounding, their conversation eventually turned to the stars. And they were trying to identify various constellations and other sky objects, eventually turning to the wonder of the universe. How far away those stars were, how many galaxies were visible, and a whole compendium of what-ifs. Having taught astronomy for years, I might add that most of their star and constellation IDs were not correct. They were identifying winter constellations, and I'm not going to hike up there in the winter. My tongue grew shorter by the minute, because I was on a solo, remember, and until I could no longer resist injecting myself into their astronomical contemplations. The wonder of the skies goes far beyond what is visible to the naked eye. Telescopes have been turned to the heavens since the time of Galileo, and now the Hubble and Webb scopes have brought us images that boggle the imagination and that allow us to see back in time when stars and galaxies were just beginning to form. Now, with all that said, all the stars that we see with the naked eye, no matter how dark it is, are within our own galaxy, the Milky Way. The Milky Way alone contains somewhere between 100 and 400, as Carl Sagan would say, billions and billions of stars, some 100 to 400 billion stars. And we now estimate that there are some 2 trillion such galaxies in our universe. If you do the math, If you do the math, that amounts to some 600 followed by 23 zeros. That many galaxies. Many, if not most of those stars probably have planet systems. What is the probability that at least some of those planet systems contain a Goldilocks planet? A planet with enough mass to hold an atmosphere and is at a distance from that sun to be neither too hot nor too cold to support life. Think about it. It is a wonder, is it not?
We have the opportunity to sing together. So we will be singing hymn 21 in the Gray Book, For the Beauty of the Earth. Hymn 21, For the Beauty of the Earth. If you want to sing, please rise in body or spirit for hymn 21.
For the beauty of the earth, for the splendor of the skies, for the love which from our birth over and around us lies. Source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of ear and eye, for the heart and mind's delight, for the mystic harmony, linking sense to sound and sight. Source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the wonder of each hour, of the day and of the night, hill and vale and tree and flower, sun and moon and stars of light. Source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of human care, sister, brother, parent, child, for the kinship that we share, for all gentle thoughts and mild. Source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise.
For over 30 years of our 43 years as a congregation, we have paired up with EFA, the Emergency Family Assistance Association, in many things, but particularly around the holidays, for a mitten tree. Now, the mitten tree, you see here this naked, maybe even sorrowful tree so far. In a few moments, before our very eyes, this tree will be decorated with mittens and halves and scarves, and I can see our decorators lined up back there waiting to come in. Mittens and hats and scarves to become a just marvelous manifestation of the true joy and the true spirit of generosity that this season is meant to inspire us. So I'm going to invite them in now. I think they're ready, and here we go for the 2022 Mitten Tree. Come on in. Wow. Isn't that so fun? Gosh. And it's without all the arguing that happened in my family when my kids were little about what goes where. So it's just fun. It's just joyful, fun, and generous. I just love it. This is the most beautiful tree I see all season. I've realized that it is filled, I just learned this week, that it is filled with awe and wonder in more ways than one. Because psychologists are beginning to look at the link between awe, wonder, and generosity. In 2003, psychologist Dr. Keltner at the University of California in Berkeley and Joseph Haid at New York University began some experiments about the benefits of the experience of awe, of just staring at the stars, like Jim was saying. Awe they defined as the feeling of being in the presence of something vast that transcends our understanding of the world. They had one group of participants in their study gaze at North America's tallest eucalyptus trees, and another one look up at a tall science building. Now, if this was conducted on the CU Berkeley campus, which I was imagining for myself, I may have actually done my first walking meditation underneath those eucalyptus trees. So I had this incredible remembrance, like body experience of remembering walking through there while I was in seminary learning the meditation style of Thich Nhat Hanh. So in this experiment, not unexpectedly, those glancing at the tree reported a greater feeling of awe than those looking at the building. But here's the thing. A situation was then arranged in which participants from both groups encountered a person who stumbled and dropped a handful of pens on the ground. Those who had looked up at the trees were more apt to help that person pick up the pens than those who had gazed at the science building. Further experiments on awe found that participants experiencing awe more so than those experiencing emotions like pride or amusement or those, kind of regular emotions we might feel, they cooperated more, shared more resources, and sacrificed more for others, all of which are behaviors necessary for the collective life, for the collective good. We are social animals. Isn't that amazing? I had never, ever put awe together with generosity and watching out for each other. So therefore, looking at this tree, I conclude that you all must be awesome. Full of awe-inducing moments, because I didn't want to say awful, because that just didn't sound right. Your generosity almost tipped over this tree. I can't even see any of the branches anymore. I'm wondering if this also goes the other way, however. Are folks who are invested in the collective life, like those in religious communities like ours, also more apt to experience awe and wonder? Because honestly, I routinely experience awe as they define it. Being in the presence of something vast and almost mysterious that transcends my understanding of the world when we, whoever that we might be, but often you and I, are doing something powerful and beautiful together. For me, communities rising up in truth and love brings me to tears every time. Looking at this tree, I'm also wondering in a different way, in the sense of becoming curious. I wonder who will wear that hat on the top there, that red and white beret? And how about those little blue gloves? They're about this big, you might not be able to see them. And that beautiful orange scarf that one of the kids wanted to drape like all around the whole tree, and another kid was kind of moving over to get more stuff on. I watched that little interaction there. But who's going to be wearing all of these things? Will I walk by them on public road, shop next to them at King Soopers, pass them here in the foyer next Sunday? Valerie Kaur writes, "To wonder is to cultivate a sense of awe and openness to others' thoughts and experiences, to their pain, their needs, and their wants. It is to look upon the face of anyone or anything and say, 'You are a part of me that I do not yet know. You are a part of me that I do not yet know.'" Wonder, she says, is an orientation to humility. Wondering about a person gives us information about how to love them. Wondering gives us information on how to care for them. Wonder is the wellspring, she says, of love. So wonder with me. Gaze at this tree. and open yourself up not only to the generosity that shines through it, but also to the wants and the needs of those who live among us and are us who will receive this generosity. Maybe there's one particular hat or a glove or scarf you can look at and use that as a bit of a meditation this morning and just begin to wonder about the life that that scarf or hat will help. As I was imagining this and doing this myself, my community organizer, social justice mind kicked in as well. And another sort of wondering came up. Because I see a gap here, a troubling gap. Here we are, living in this wonderful place, where all we have to do is look west to be awestruck by our mountains. Here we are in one of the most affluent counties in the nation, and still we are collecting hats and gloves to help people amongst us, maybe even you, meet their basic needs for warmth. Don't get me wrong, I think it is imperative that we do this as people freeze to death in our county every single winter. But my heart is troubled by the disparities we allow ourselves to live with. My own call to ministry to dedicate myself to the healing of the world came from me opening myself up quite unexpectedly to this painful discrepancy and how the affluence of my life contributes to it. When I was about 16, in one of the first trips I took to New York City by myself, on a bus from New Jersey, from a very sheltered community. Now, I'd been to New York before. I'd probably even been to Port Authority before, but always in the company of adults. And in New York, we would drive in through Port Authority and, roll up the windows and lock the doors. And, we'd have all our nervousness and our hackles up around the other people. But this particular time, for some reason, I don't remember why, I took the bus to New York City by myself and arrived at Port Authority. This was about 1982. It was a time when homelessness was rampant in New York City, when our president of the time had closed down mental institutions and not created the community centers, and drug addiction was also rampant. And here I was, this little white girl from New Jersey, and I remember coming down this escalator and seeing a sea of sleeping bags down on the floor of Port Authority. And all I could see were darker faces than mine, and it felt like these just white eyes looking out, the whites of people's eyes just looking out. And immediately as I was on that escalator, I knew that my life, my sheltered life, the life that people had wanted me to stay sheltered in, was not separate at all from the lives of the people that were living on the floor of Port Authority. That vision stayed with me from the time I was 16. It took me to college where I studied public policy, and then to graduate school where I studied housing, because I wanted to really begin to understand how to make sense of that discrepancy. And I'm still seeking to try to understand that, to live with that discrepancy in my own life. Particularly, this kind of hyper-awareness in our interconnection comes and goes with me. Sometimes I'm so there and I'm allowing myself to feel the discomfort, and other times I'm moving away from it. Particularly during this season when my own conditioning of manufactured wants and lack is egregiously fed by the economic machine that is dependent on Christmas sales. Particularly during this time of year, I notice how my urge for more, either in the form of stuff or also my own expectations or secret desires from family and friends, it goes up this time of year. It's conditioned to go up this time of year, only to set myself up for disappointment. Author Kent Nurburn writes, "Where does it come from, this strange, unquenchable human urge for more that is both our blessing and our curse?" And I think distinguishing between that is trying to help ourselves as humans spiritually to attune ourselves to what it is we are really wanting more of. And what it is we're being conditioned to believe is going to make us satisfied, safe, happy, secure, what are all those things? Joyful. When I'm more spiritually aligned, I can also allow myself the discomfort of consciously acknowledging this split in me. The split in me that feels my own privilege, my own affluence, and does routinely walk by those who are suffering. With self-awareness, I tenderly notice the rationalizations I make about the luxuries that I indulge in. My nails, Starbucks, while I allow other people, the parts of me I do not yet know, to go hungry or cold before my eyes. In his book on distributive justice called How Much Do We Deserve?, UU minister Richard Gilbert makes the case of really living into the principle of the inherent worth in every person. And when we do that, it requires us to look hard at the economic distributive justice in our world and how our individual choices and conditioning impact the common good. From Islam to Buddhism to Christianity and humanism, our religious teachings remind us of our social responsibility to care for one another. That collective liberation demands that all of us have our basic and even not so basic needs met, and that we all suffer when even one of us is suffering. These are the reminders I need this season. That awe and wonder and joy come from the gifts that are already given. The stars, the shape of the clouds, puppies and kittens, and the bountiful love that pervades the earth. In my office, I have a poster that says, "Love is where you find it. Look for it." And to remember, I also need to be reminded in this season that I am profoundly connected to all of creation, and as such, suffer with those in need, and have responsibility, even through my individual choices, to be part of our collective liberation, to be part of the healing of our world. My responsibility must include sharing mittens and hats, helping provide for basic needs, and also going much further to question the disparities I've become accustomed to, and to making sacrifices, real sacrifices and changes in my life, fighting for economic justice so that no one is cold in winter. It turns out that gazing at the stars, turning to awe and wonder, can be a starting point for turning towards the collective good. May it not end there. Blessed be. Amen.
Hello, I'm Lisa Kahn, and I've been coordinating our mitten tree for the past several years. And with me today is Miriam Gilbert from the Emergency Family Assistance Association. Miriam is on, Miriam serves on the EFA development and education committees and has been with us here this is Miriam's third time joining us here during our mitten tree. Our fifth time? Wow.
Yeah.
Yay. Well, each week we remind ourselves of the abundance of our lives and this community by giving half of our plate away to those organizations that share our values. But as is our tradition, today our full plate will be donated to EFA, the Emergency Family Assistance Association. Since 1918, EFA serves as the community safety net for families who cannot meet their basic needs in the Boulder County area. EFA provides our neighbors in need with food through the food pantry, financial assistance for critical necessities like housing costs, utilities, minor medical and dental costs, in addition to transitional and short-term housing for families experiencing homelessness. EFA has 55 single-family units across 6 different sites throughout the county. And EFA provides temporary housing with a focus on working with families during their stay to move into permanent, affordable housing. Families in EFA's housing program are paired with a child-focused case manager for ongoing support. EFA's housing sites offer a variety of children and youth activities, including kids clubs and community events. And all of these mitten tree items I'll be taking them over tomorrow because EFA has a family gift room every year. So tomorrow, families are invited to come into this big space that EFA rents with lots of toys and games, and our mittens will be there for parents to be able to choose to give to their kids as presents this season. Working in collaboration with volunteers, donors, and partners, EFA ensures access to food, housing, and other resources to help our neighbors move toward financial stability and resiliency. In 2022, over 400 volunteers helped to support over 2,500 families with $1.6 million in financial support going toward rent, utilities, and other needs. And they supplied over 1 million pounds of food to local families. EFA is dedicated to helping members of our community meet their immediate needs and springboard out of poverty. When families thrive, our community is stronger. So you can text your donation at the number on the screen, or if you're in the fellowship today, you can place a donation in the offering plate as it passes. Please give generously, as you often do. And as our musical reflection begins, we invite you to reflect upon and write into the chat, if you're on Zoom, your answer to this question. How do you show your gratitude for the abundance of your life? Thank you.
Come on over. For the work of the fellowship, actually, in gratitude for the gifts of this fellowship to the Emergency Family Assistance Association, we dedicate our offerings and our work and offer you blessings in your work.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
You can give those to Jim. This is a time in our service, a time of community connection, a time of sharing. I'll start with the Zoomies. If you're on Zoom and you'd like to share a joy or a concern, please type it in the chat window, sending it to everyone. And just briefly let us know what's in your heart. And then following the sharing that happens here in the sanctuary, I will read those off of the chat. And Jim will add a stone into our sacred waters. If you're in the sanctuary today, you can come up, share your joy or concern using the microphone and add a stone yourself, or Jim can add one. And you're always welcome to just come up and put a stone in here in silence if that's your preference. Wherever you are, please tell us your name and where you live. And one last stone. For all of those joys and concerns that remain in the silent sanctuary of our hearts, knowing that even in our silence, we are bound together in the web of life. Beloveds, the holidays bring up such a complexity of emotions. No family is perfect, and yet at the holidays we have visions of what our families are supposed to be like. No family is without suffering, and yet at the holidays there's both this desire to be joyful and the recognition of those who are not with us. It is a tender, complex time. I offer you, in this tender time, a poem from the Reverend Rebecca Parker called Winter Solstice. Perhaps, for a moment, the typewriters will stop clicking, the wheels stop rolling, the computers desist from computing, and a hush will fall over the city. For an instant, in the stillness, the chiming of the celestial spheres will be heard as Earth hangs poised in the crystalline darkness, and then gracefully tilts. Let there be a season where holiness is heard and the splendor of living is revealed. Stunned to stillness by beauty, we remember who we are and why we are here. There are inexplicable mysteries. We are not alone. In the universe there moves a wild one whose gestures alter Earth's axis toward love. In the immense darkness, everything spins with joy. The cosmos enfolds us. We are caught in a web of stars, cradled in a swaying embrace, rocked by the holy night, babes of the universe. Let this be a time we wake to life, like spring wakes in the moment of winter solstice. And in this awakening, may we all recognize our profound interconnection and live with awe towards one another and all of creation. May this be our promise and our prayer. Blessed be.
We have an opportunity to sing together. Hymn 95 in the gray hymnal, There's More Love Somewhere. Hymn 95 in the gray hymnal. Please rise in body or spirit as able.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere.
That's such a beautiful song. I love that song. I have a few announcements this morning, as usual. We are continuing our Inquirers series, and today I will be leading a series on a short presentation on UU history and our principles and values, so principles and sources. So grab yourself a cup of coffee and then meet back in here in the sanctuary. We have a lot of holiday services coming up. So next Sunday here in the sanctuary at our usual time, you can explore the solstice with Paul Gibb and Gloria Perlstein. And then on the 23rd, there will be a Yule service at the Loop, our Longmont UU presence. And that's from 5:30 to 7 in the evening at the Longmont UCC Church at 1500 9th Street. And they're doing it as a potluck this time, so they will have turkey and stuffing and vegan food, but bring something to share and enjoy the Yule with our friends in Longmont, who are actually us. Right? And then here at the Fellowship for Christmas Eve, we will have our no rehearsal Christmas pageant at 4 p.m., followed by a campfire. If you haven't been, that is like a super fun way to celebrate Christmas Eve. We create the nativity scene here. There will be costumes that you can wear. And lots of kids in costumes. And you can come in a costume too, whether you want to be a star or a donkey, whatever suits you this season. So that's at 4 p.m. There'll be a campfire outside after that. And then in the evening at 8 p.m., we will have our traditional candles and, what's it called? Carols, thank you. Candles and carol service. And the choir will be singing that evening as well. On Christmas Day, we will not be having services here at the Fellowship, but you are invited to the UU Church of Boulder for their 10 a.m. service. And then you can stay there doing a potluck there at 10 a.m. So you can gather with friends at UU Church of Boulder if that is your wish on Christmas morning. And then if you're thinking as far ahead as New Year's Day as I am, we will have a mostly pre-recorded Zoom-only service that will include sharing of joys and concerns. So that will be on Zoom only. We won't be meeting here on New Year's Day, 10 a.m. if you can get up that early. And I think that's all I have for announcements. So we will extinguish our chalice. Thank you. Following the service today, we have an opportunity for everyone to be making ornaments and also to be making holiday spritzers. So they may be little gifts you give to somebody, and it is an all-ages celebration. So sit down next to one of our beautiful kids and create something together. It's really a joyful, joyful thing to do. And ringing the bells. There's a lot happening today. At 11 o'clock, which has already passed, we are going to be ringing bells outside for the 11th hour, and that is a Green Faith project to remind us that we are in the 11th hour to be engaged in the work of climate justice and reversing our climate change. So now we will extinguish our chalice, but not the warmth of love, the light of truth, or the energy of action. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. May we all go forth recognizing the joy in our everyday lives and remembering that the generosity and the giving makes a difference. Blessed be. Amen.
Friends, we're going to end the service coming full circle. We began with a song that Daniel sang about a man walking outside staring up at the stars. And then we heard from Jim his reflection about the incredible expansiveness of the universe. sitting in the hot springs with some companions speculating about what's going on out there in the far reaches of space. And they didn't quite get it right. So we're going to flip that around, and we're going to imagine maybe there are creatures out there in galaxies, on a planet far, far away, speculating about what us human beings are doing this time of year, this holiday season, and maybe not getting it quite right. We actually know specifically from what universe this song comes. It's the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's from the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. This is called I Don't Know What Christmas Is, but Christmas Time is Here.
Out on the third planet that is closest to the sun, there's a special celebration, and it sounds quite fun. A jolly old fellow brings toys to everyone on a holiday they call Christmas.
That's right. So far, so good.
Yeah. Now, I'm not gonna lie, it makes no sense to me.
Okay.
But here's what I've discovered about this Christmas mystery.
Do tell.
A 1, 2, 3, 4. Santa is a furry freak with epic superpowers.
Sure.
He flies to every human home in under 14 hours.
That's magic.
He's a master burglar.
No.
A pro at picking locks.
No.
If you don't leave milk and cookies out, he will put dung in your socks.
That is not part of the lore at all.
If you act nicely through the night and don't jump on your bed, Santa comes with sugar plums and hurls them at your head.
He does not do that.
But if you're on his naughty list, he shoots missiles at your toes.
Missiles at toes, get
He
it?
might just roast your chestnuts with his powerful flamethrower.
Santa does not have a flamethrower.
A 1, 2, 3, 4. Rain, 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 rain. Dear, 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 dear. I don't know what Christmas is, but Christmas time is here. He's compelled his creepy elves to do his every wish. One sought to be a dentist, now he's sleeping with the fish.
That's violent.
Mrs. Claus, she works the pole,
Okay.
plans her man's demise. Soon the elves will all rise up and stab out Santa's eyes.
That's violent.
A 1, 2, 3, 4. Ho, 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 ho. Earthlings are so weird. I don't know what Christmas is, but Christmas time is here. Ho, 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 ho. Earthlings are so weird. I don't know what Christmas is, but Christmas time is here. What the heck's a turtle dove? And who lit up that deer?
Rudolph.
I don't know what Christmas is, but Christmas time is here. I don't know what Christmas is, but Christmas time is here. Or maybe it's there, or maybe it's somewhere. I don't know.